Jefferson County Court at law number 2 is back in session in 2 cases, cause number 333-590 and cause number 333-592. In cause number 333-590, the case is styled the state of Texas versus LaCaven DeAndre Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins previously was sworn in. Mr. Jenkins entered a plea of guilty to the charge of tampering with an identification number. Mr. Jenkins acknowledged that his signatures and initials was on state's exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishments. He also acknowledged that his signature was on the trial court certification, the defendant's right of appeal. He also acknowledged that his signature was on the discovery certification. Mr. Jenkins' attorney, Mr. Giles Cole, waived the record in Mr. Jenkins' case. Mr. Cole acknowledged that there was no evidence that Mr. Jenkins was mentally incompetent to stand trial. Mr. Jenkins acknowledged that he was satisfied with the services of his attorney, Mr. Giles Cole, and that Mr. Giles Cole provided full, effective, and competent legal representation. The court found that Mr. Jenkins' plea was freely involved, that accepted Mr. Jenkins' plea. The court also found that Mr. Jenkins was mentally competent to stand trial. The court also found that the pleas and waivers that Mr. Jenkins gave was freely and voluntarily given. And the court found that there was sufficient evidence to find Mr. Jenkins guilty in this case. State, do we have a plea bargaining agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for defendant's plea of guilty in this case, the state is recommending confinement in the Jefferson County Jail for a period of 14 days, Your Honor. We're asking that the court give defendant credit for the 14 days he has previously.
Is it 13 days?
Is it 13? Excuse me, Your Honor, 13 days.
Okay.
We're asking that the court give defendant credit for the 13 days he has previously spent in jail, making this a time-served plea agreement, Your Honor. And in connection with the plea agreement, the state will be moving to dismiss companion case number 333-592 on defendant agreeing to forfeit the weapon found, which was a CPX-1 9mm pistol with an obliterated serial number, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, Mr. Jenkins, the state is offering that you serve 13 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail in this case because you've already served 13 days in the Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you will be given credit for the time that you have already served in this case. The court cost in this case is $332, but you will not have to pay the court cost of $332 because the time that you have spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court cost will be taxed and retired. And the state will be dismissing the companion case of cause number 333-592 for the forfeiture of the weapon in that case. Now, Mr. Jenkins, did you sign a motion? Did you sign a motion to forfeit the weapon in that case?
Yes, sir.
Now, prior to signing that motion to forfeit, did your attorney, Mr. Cole, go over that motion with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in that motion?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in that motion true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jenkins, I will grant the motion to forfeit the weapon in this case. And what agency is the weapon being forfeited to? Oh, okay, I see. It's the weapon is going to be forfeited to the Beaumont Police Department. And Mr. Cole, is it in the motion that is being forfeited to the Beaumont Police Department?
Jefferson County.
There should be.
Beaumont.
I'm looking at the probable cause information. This was an Officer Jackson, it was a Beaumont Police Department case. It
Okay.
wasn't a Jefferson County case.
I apologize, Your Honor. Let me correct that. Beaumont Police. Beaumont County.
You don't have to put county, just Beaumont Police Department. Wherever that space was, they usually have the name, the blank for the department. It's just blank and then police department. So it would be Beaumont Police Department.
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Okay, now the court is going to grant this motion to forfeit the weapon to the Beaumont Police Department. And the court is going to accept the plea bargain agreement. Now, Mr. Jenkins, I'll just do this one more time. You understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jenkins, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Jenkins, this will conclude your case. If you do not have anything else holding you in jail today, you should be getting out. Mr. Jenkins, please knock on the door, follow the bailiff. You're free to go and you have a blessed day.
Yes, sir. You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Davion Durgan. Davion Durgan. This is cause number 331082. And the case is styled the state of Texas versus Davion Durgan. Mr. Durgan, is that your full name?
Oh, no, Davion Kivatie, Javion Durgan.
Okay. How you doing, Mr. Durgan?
Good.
That's good. Mr. Durgan, would you please raise your right hand? To the best of your ability, could you please raise your right hand so we can see your hand? Yeah. Mr. Durgan, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Durgan, you may put your hand down. Ms. Durgan, you represented in your case by your attorney, Giles Cole. Attorney Cole, how are you doing?
Great.
Now, Mr. Cole, do you waive a record in Mr. Durgan's case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Durgan, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information alleges that on or about October 7th of 2021, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of criminal trespassing. Mr. Durgan, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes.
And to this charge, Mr. Durgan, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest? How do you plead? Do you plead guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily? Is anybody forcing you to plead guilty, or are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
I'm pleading guilty freely.
Okay. Now, Mr. Durgan, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment. Mr. Durgan, do you recognize this document?
Yeah, I
You
just
do?
signed it.
Yes. Do you recognize it?
Yeah.
All right. Now, Mr. Durgan, on page 2 of this document, there's a set of initials. The initials are DD. Could
Yeah.
you place your initials on this document?
Yes.
On page 3 of this same document, Mr. Durgan, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes, sir.
On the next document that's titled trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on this document?
Yes, sir.
And at the top of the same document, there are 2 boxes that are checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Durgan, did you sign a document out there on paper that is titled Discovery Certification?
What is that?
That's the paper that we signed, and I slid it to you. You kept it with you?
Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, now, Mr. Durgan, before you signed and initialed all of those documents, did your attorney go over those documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in those documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
State. Now, Mr. Durgan, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer State's Exhibit number 1?
Yes, Your Honor, state officer, state one.
Any
No
objection?
objections.
No objection. State's Exhibit number 1 is admitted. Mr. Cole, you advised and counseled Mr. Durgan. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Durgan, your attorney, Mr. Cole, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Durgan, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for defendant's plea of guilty in this case, the state is recommending confinement in the Jefferson County Jail for a period of 13 days, Your Honor. We're asking that the court give defendant credit for 13 days he's previously spent in jail. This is a time served plea agreement, Your Honor. And lastly, we're asking that the court use the time served to both tax and retire court costs.
Good. Mr. Durgan, the state is offering that you serve 13 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you would not have to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail on this case because you've already served 13 days in the Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you will be given credit for the time that you've already served in jail. Mr. Durgan, the court cost in this case is $342, but you would not have to pay the $342 court cost because the time that you spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court cost will be taxed and retired. Mr. Durgan, do you understand the state's offer?
You can repeat that?
Okay, Mr. Durgan, the state is offering that you serve 13 days in the Jefferson County Jail, but you will not have to serve the 13 days in the Jefferson County Jail because you have already served 13 days in the Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you will be given credit for the time that you've already served.
Okay.
And the court cost in this case, I think is $337. You will not have to pay the court cost because the time that you have spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court cost will be taxed and retired. Mr. Durgan, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Durgan, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Durgan, this will conclude your case. Mr. Durgan, if you do not have anything else holding you in jail, you should be getting out of jail today. Mr. Durgan, please knock on the door, follow the bailiff. You have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a good one, big man.
And the next person is Jonathan Richard.
Yeah.
Okay, this is cause number 333644, cases style, State of Texas versus Jonathan A. Richard. Mr. Richard, is that your full name?
Yes. Jonathan Richard.
Mr. Richard, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Richard, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Okay, Mr. Richard, would you put your hand down? How are you doing, Mr. Richard?
Doing all right.
You doing all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, Mr. Richard, you're represented in this case by your attorney, Attorney Giles Cole. Attorney Cole, do you waive a record in Mr. Richards' case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Richards, I have before me a document that is titled Information. And in fact, Mr. Richards, we have two cases. You have cause number 333-642 and cause number 333-644. The court will be proceeding in cause number 333-644, and in cause number 333-644, I have before me an information that alleges that on or about September 11th of 2022, that you committed the class A misdemeanor offense of evading arrest, detention. Mr. Richard, do you understand what you have been charged with?
Yes, evading arrest.
Right, and to this charge, Mr. Richards, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
Now, are you pleading no
Guilty.
contest freely and voluntarily?
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Richards, I'm
Yes.
looking at State's Exhibit, well, number 1, which is the misdemeanor plea admonishment. And on this document, Mr. Richards, there is a signature on the line, so initials JR on the line that says guilty. I'm gonna show you this here document.
Yes, I'm truly good.
You pleading guilty? Now,
Yes.
are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, voluntary.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Pleading guilty because I am guilty. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Richard, I also have before me, as I just showed you, State's Exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of this document, these are the initials that I just showed you, JR, that you acknowledged was yours. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And on page 3 of this same document, there is a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes, sir.
On the next document that's titled trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that is titled defendant?
Sure that it is.
At the top of this document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Richards, did you sign a document out there on paper that is titled Discovery Certification?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, now, Mr. Richards, before you sign and initialed all of these documents that I've just mentioned to you, did your attorney, Mr. Cole, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything that Mr. Cole went over?
I truly am. Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Mr. Richards, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibit number 1?
Yes, Your Honor. State offer State 1.
Mr. Cole, do you have any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
No objections. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Richards, Mr. Cole your attorney has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his services?
I truly am. Yes, sir.
has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, it is. You don't have.
And Mr. Cole, you've advised in counsel, Mr. Richard. Is there anything, or is there any evidence that he is mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Richards, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I will also find that your plea and waivers was freely and voluntarily given. Now, Mr. Johnson, is there a plea bargain agreement?
There is, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty in this case, the state is recommending confinement in the Jefferson County Jail for a period of 17 days, Your Honor. Tax and retire the court costs. And in connection with this plea agreement, Your Honor, the state is moving to dismiss the companion case number 333642.
Okay, now, Mr. Richard, the state is offering that you serve 17 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail on this case because you've already served 13 days in the Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for the 13 days for the 17 days that you have already served. The court cost in this case is $327, but you will not have to pay the $327 court cost because the time that you have spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court cost will be taxed and retired. And the state will be dismissing the companion case of cause number 333642. Mr. Richard,
Yes,
do you understand the state's offer?
yes.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
I truly believe the state office is fair, fair.
And do you accept the state's offer?
I truly accept the state's office.
Okay, Mr. Richards, the court will follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Now, Mr. Richards, this will conclude your case. At the, you will, if you do not have anything else holding you in jail, you should be getting out of jail today. And before you get out of jail, they're gonna be someone from Spindletop is gonna come by and talk to you. Now, knock on the door. You can follow the bailiff. You're free to go, and you have a blessed day. And Mr. Richards and Mr. Cole, make sure that the deputy get the paperwork, the discovery certifications.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. All right. This will conclude this case, and I think this is our last case. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you'll be free to go. You have a blessed day, and the court will be in recess.
All right. Have a great day, Your Honor.